All right.
Fucked up.
Driveline R&D podcast. Research and Drinks, episode 8, March 29th, with your hosts.
What year? What year, though?
2020. I believe. Unless that's changed.
Most people say 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Today's date,
Proper
March
way to
29th, 2020, Sunday.
March 29th, 2020.
March 29th, 2020. With your host, biomechanist Anthony Brady. And
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is where we go in order. Okay. And Alex Caravan, co-swag manager of baseball analytics.
for Driveline Baseball. Pretty, add that on there.
And Kyle Lindley, R&D engineer in
Okay,
Driveline Baseball's research and development department.
There we go. Okay. What are we drinking today?
I'm drinking the same thing as last week.
No,
So
Kyle,
it's a
I
little
talk
tough.
first, dog.
Oh yeah, true.
Got a nice little bottle of Malbec over here,
Ooh.
provided courtesy of Max Engelbrecht.
I think people
Venmo
say-
you later.
I think
Venmo
people
you later.
I think people say Malbec.
I think Malbec is the turn there.
All right.
That's a good pour. That's a healthy pour. Nice little Sunday night pour.
What are you drinking, Anthony?
I got the Hazelicious from Rubens.
Shout out Rubens.
We probably plug Rubens more than any other place on this podcast, I feel like.
Yeah. That if this podcast actually makes it, we'll know that when
This
Rubens
logo.
sponsors us.
Logo
Yeah.
right here.
It'll be Rubens Research and Drinks.
For local
Yes.
breweries right now. Yeah. Rubens and drinks. All right. Episode 8. Still working from home. Quarantine, everyone's working remotely.
Apparently now for a while longer too.
Yep. It just seems like it's going to be even further away from us. But I mean, you were saying your at home setup's pretty fire. That you're like pretty chill with it, Lindley?
Yeah, I just got the rest of my. I went to Driveline and just grabbed everything, all the monitors and the workstation setup, and brought it home. So
All the monitors, not just yours.
Oh, yeah, I have like 30 monitors in my room
Yeah.
right now, dude.
That'd be pretty fire. Yeah, it's been pretty chill. Like it hasn't really changed much. And honestly, I think like setting up the home gym has actually been more fire than like working out a Driveline
Oh yeah,
as
dude.
of late.
We
I
brought
started for like
some.
2-a-days.
Yeah, it's just way
Oh,
easier.
yeah.
It's just way easier to be like regular and consistent, and just like having nothing else going on, like no travel, anything like that. Been kind of chill.
I'm trying to stay on my program that Rooney gave me, and I have some speed squats in there. And so we don't have a rack.
Oh, the 40 rep?
But we have just with a barbell, but like for speed, set to 2.
Yeah.
And to get since we don't have a rack to get the bar on my back, I have to clean it and then push press it over my head.
Yeah.
And so that was a nightmare yesterday. I'm gonna have to get better at that, especially because my clean form is terrible.
Yeah.
And my shoulders are weak,
What
so
we're
it's hard to
doing-
get it over my head.
What were we doing? 95 pounds.
No, I think I was doing 165.
Kilos, 165 kilos. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have
Pretty
a
good, dude.
I don't have an impulse unit though, so I can't track my bar speed.
Ooh, that's tough.
It ain't fast. I'll tell you that without an impulse unit.
That's tough. All right.
Brutal.
What do we got last week? Anything big going on? I mean, we're all still working from home.
Caravan talks first.
Still working on the same projects and work.
We gotta let Brady finish first, though.
What do you got?
What do you got?
What do I got? Last week, nothing much. Helped Dan out a bit with he's working on like some KVS reports, mixing in. Basically, we're sitting on a whole bunch of like paired blast and KVS data, right? Trying to figure out like, okay, what metrics from KVS are actually pairing and mapping into bat speed, right? And we also have like hit tracks data in there as well. I don't think we did for Dan's stuff, but we will for later.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah. We actually that's part of my week. I helped Tamp. Well, yeah, I actually wrote up a better algorithm for pairing data because for a while, I mean, we have the two-part blog series that Dan and I wrote on blast and hit tracks data from about a year ago.
Mhm.
but it's actually gone a lot easier pairing it because we used to have like 8 different blast sensors, all
Nice.
3 different time zones. But now we've kind of consolidated everything together and improved like tracking practices.
Yeah.
So no, it's pretty good, and I'm looking forward to kind of like filling in the missing gaps of months and trying to see what we can get out of it.
Right.
Is that
Like
gonna
stuff where
be
we,
is that gonna be something we can use for the hand position study? Will it be easier to get the
oh
batting ball
yeah,
ready
yeah,
for that
yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah, yep. That's a good reminder on a 3-month long to do. So
Nah,
that is
there's no
something we can.
rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but definitely, I totally forgot about that. And one of the other things that's like really relevant to that is one of the things I've been working on is developing like a newer blast report interface for remote athletes as well.
Mhm.
And one of the things I'm doing is creating like an expected peak exit velocity and expected like launch angle at that peak exit velocity
Oh,
just
from the
from
hit tracks
blast
data?
data. Yeah, well, from blast data,
Oh,
That's
but
cool.
But I'm using
Very cool.
because
you're
the input is yeah, I build a model on initial like paired hit tracks and blast data. So as
right.
like more blast data comes in, kind of, or now I'm doing it only on blast data. But if we have more paired data, I'll be able to improve those models because right now they're about. I'm including on the reports. I'm including like a plus or minus root mean square error, which is like what it sounds like if you're familiar with that kind of like error method of tracking. But basically, you subtract the predicted from the actual, you square that. So like larger magnitudes or you know are accounted for, and also like whether there's positive or negative is accounted for. It is you square. So
Yeah.
square of a negative number is positive. Take the mean of that and take the square root of that.
Mhm.
So right now, I think I'm looking at around like 2.5 root mean square error on my predicted EV, and I think that's pretty good considering the
Yeah, that's
standard
pretty.
deviation of the estimate are
Yeah.
like around 4 to 5. So yeah, I'm hoping to bring that number down even more with more paired data.
Yeah. And that's
That's pretty
fire.
cool. I didn't know. How are you doing the launch angle portion of that? Like
So
your
so as a disqualifier, or I mean not disqualify, as a kind of metric definition, I when I say peak EV, I mean the average exit velocity of the top 8th hardest hit balls, because we kind of talk about it in blogs here and there, and Dan and I talk about it on Twitter, but that's kind of been like the accepted proxy for a couple of years in the sabermetric community to judge like someone's peak EV, since like taking the absolute one hardest hit ball out of like a sample size of
Yeah.
100 plus isn't really like that indicative,
Could just be the one they barrel and they don't barrel anything else.
yeah, exactly, yeah. There's
could be
no like
measurement error too.
yeah, exactly, yeah. There could be a ton of things. So usually, if there's 100 balls in play, take the average of the top 12 hardest hit balls. Um, I'm defining as that, and I'm defining I'm looking at the average launch angle of those hard hit balls to like give an idea of what their launch angle is when they really barrel it, since like launch angle has like such a wide variance
Oh,
usually
right.
in
Okay.
a player's profile. Like any player, no matter how like consistent they are, is gonna have like a wide variance. But it doesn't really matter if you're hitting like if you're like have the right
Yeah.
launch angle for the weekly hit balls. Those are like pop ups.
Yeah.
It matters what you're doing on the ones you
The hard
barrel
hit
up on.
balls. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
kind of linking in a pair of data, but yeah, yeah. Go on.
That's fire. Yeah, I with the with the KVS stuff, all I did really was like Dan hit me up when he was working on the KVS stuff, and I think that in general, not all the metrics were like correlating that well with bat speed, and
Not at all.
really all I did was say just to use like rotational kinetic energy for the rotational speeds of like torso, pelvis, upper arm, and hand, as opposed to the just using like torso speed rotation that like KVS gives you. And also like that, not at all my original idea. That was from Ben Hansen's talk at Slugfest that Lindley and I were at, which was like super eye opening and just like a really much better way to look at like rotational speeds within a segment and how it kind of like relates to velocity and that kind of thing. And definitely want to get that on the pitching side in the biometric report, because I think it'll have like true value there. But no, he implemented rotational kinetic energies instead of rotational speed.
Well, don't we already
He got way
have
better.
don't we already have like metrics that kind of account for that on the pitching side?
Not technically in the report right now. On the back end, I believe we're starting to export it and look at it, but I don't think I mean, arguably, efficiency accounts for like height and mass, but we don't have anything right now that is like buckets or parameters for rotational kinetic energy on like a per segment basis for like torso rotation, pelvis rotation, speed, that kind of thing. I mean, we could just do it. And again, Dan can't even really do it himself because in order to do like rotational kinetic energies, you need to know like the moment of inertia of the segment, and you can't really do that with like a sensor.
It's also incredibly hard to do for like the pelvis or torso anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so like much that goes into it.
There are also axial rotations too, like around the z-axis, and most of those like moment of inertias are like flexion extension kind of a thing, trying to find like where is that point, like the center of mass of those segments.
Yeah.
So the way that you're like rotating the segment matters for the moment of inertia,
Yeah. Well, not to mention you have like all the distal segments connecting to everything, which is going to change the moment of inertia. So I feel like summarizing or like trying to estimate the moment of inertia there is probably pretty tough.
So I mean, really, all Dan was doing was just like taking the height and weight. I don't even know if he factored in, but basically just taking the weight and factoring that into a kinetic energy equation with the velocity, which like kinetic energy is just like 1/2 mv squared, so you have like the velocity squared and the mass. So you're accounting for the mass of the object to an extent. And then rotational kinetic energy is just 1/2. It's that angular momentum or moment of inertia, and then angular velocity
Times angular
squared.
velocity.
Yeah. So it's basically the same. It's just in the rotational one, there's an aspect of where that mass is kind of like located on the segment, like if it's distally, proximally, in the middle, that kind of thing. So it changes a bit, and you can't really like calculate that after the fact with KVS. So it's basically just incorporating mass into the rotational velocity of the segment, and that correlated way better. And the easiest example is like, you can have a 9-year-old come in on K-Vest and swing on it, and he can produce the same rotational speeds that like the best hitter in the world can. They can both rotate their torso at like 1,000, 1,100 degrees per second. But when the 9-year-old weighs, under 100 pounds, and then the professional athlete has a torso that weighs like just as much as the 9-year-old alone, like he's creating way more rotational energy, basically, is like how that's going to help that out. And then, it correlates way better to bat speed. No surprise there. That's honestly, that's the only thing I really did on that end. Dan did all the work in terms of like throwing that in there, figuring it out.
That's being put into the assessment, their hitting report too, right? So like a guy comes in, they'll get this report.
Yeah.
Okay.
As well.
Yeah. So those will be fire. Just more accurate representation of what kind of like what metrics actually produce bat speed, kind of a thing.
Cool.
So that's really all I did on my end last week as far as things we're talking about here.
Last week, worked a lot on the weighted ball mound study that we just finally wrapped up data collection on.
Yeah.
So that was like
3 years later.
And that is causing some hiccups because like the way that
the pipeline's so different.
Yeah, the pipeline's different, which is like less of a problem because we process them all at the same time. But like the data collection, the way that the data was cleaned and exported, the naming convention was different. So like the pipeline had to adjust for that. And then some of the older data, just touching bases with all the all the different subjects that we have to make sure we can get ample replication for each of them. Just a bunch of steps there to like make sure we have the full data set and get the full table to Caravan, which is going to be analyzed coming soon here. We actually had a back and forth with OC Michael O'Connell, who is going to be the
OC's his first name, by the way. If you don't know the guy, OC's his first name.
You almost made it
Michael's his
sound
middle
like that
name.
was like
O'Connell's
two
his
different
last name,
people.
Yeah.
yeah
You talked to OC and Michael O'Connell.
yeah oh yeah sorry it's the same person.
But OC is his first name, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
He's gonna be first author, so we were kind of working with him to figure out what metrics we wanted to.
I thought Kyle Rogers would be first author.
What was it? Oh yeah, the bench pressing EMG. Yeah, so we had to like figure out how we were going to avoid the multiple comparisons error that we talked about last week. I don't know if you want to get into that, Caravan.
Yeah, we can talk about it, but I was gonna say maybe we've done it before on the podcast, but you should give like a general overview quickly of what the study is and the setup.
Okay, yeah. So we are basically testing effects. ASMI did a study that looked into this as well, but looking at kinematic and kinetic parameters and how they change with different ball weights, throwing different ball weights out of the pitching motion. So we were shooting for 30 guys, ended up only getting 26 or 27, but each of them threw 3 ounce, 4 ounce, 5 ounce, 6 ounce, and 7 ounce baseballs, leather baseballs, and in the motion capture lab. So, and then we calculated a bunch of different kinetic, so like joint position, body position parameters, and kinetics, so like torques and forces on the elbow and shoulder, to see if those changed or how much they changed between which ball weight they were throwing. And that started
how long ago?
Yeah, it started in 2017 after we first got the motion capture lab like set up, and then just did our last collection, I think, on March 20th of 2020. So that 2.5 years of data collection, but yeah. So a lot of my time last week was spent like getting all that data processed, reprocessed if there was any errors, and then getting it all compiled into a table that's more digestible or just like more organized, really. So for data analysis.
You have any idea off the top of your head what like the average velocity is going to look like on that?
86.
I could do. Oh yeah, I was about to say.
I think it's 85 or 86.
Probably already tell. Yeah,
that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest part, and that's what made
86 for across ball weights or for 5 ounce.
For 5 ounce.
Oh, 86 across ball weights would be crazy.
Yeah, I think the 3 ounce. I mean, it's probably the same. The 3 ounce, I think, mean was like 89 or something.
I feel like
I thought 3 ounce would be higher.
Isn't that what I said?
3 ounce is only 89.
No, that kind of makes sense to me, and I would think that the heavier balls are going to be way lower. I think typically with that, like the heavy balls take a bigger minus than the
not for me, dog.
lighter balls.
Yeah, Caravan's unproportional.
That's all you got.
I think 89 might be wrong, but I did the means a couple of days ago. I think it's around 85 or 86 for the 5 ounce.
That's pretty fire. That's like 86 is huge. What were the? In my mind, I guess I thought that was like one of the biggest blockers was getting people to be willing to throw like basically give up a high intent day, like a weighted ball, mocap. I mean, it's definitely not the easiest process for the athlete. Also, not the easiest process for us to like come into the lab, get markered up, dedicate a whole day to like a high intent, throwing every single ball weight on the same day.
Yeah, when they only they get their biomechanics report and everything, and they get to look at the data. But other than that, there wasn't like compensation or anything.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of incentive for them to do that. But so a lot of them were like, just like ex-pros and guys who were still throwing and everything.
Yeah.
So
I just looked at the mean of everything. You guys should guess. Yeah, first off, guess what the average mean, all ball weights.
Well, do you know the 5 ounce one?
Yeah. So 5 ounce. Yeah, Lindley had it on the dot. 86.06 if you want to get more accurate with it.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess the total one as 84.5.
What do you got, Lindley?
That's what I was gonna hit. I'm going.
Just go over under.
I'm going
just over under.
I'm just gonna go over that.
Over that?
Yeah.
You got that? It's 85.3.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
close to 86. Guess now the 3 ounce is 7 ounce. 3 ounce first.
I'm guessing first since I got to go second the last time.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 80. I'll go 89 for 3 ounce and 81 for 7 ounce.
I'm gonna go 88 for 3 ounce and 80 for 7 ounce.
Okay, splitting it. 3 ounces 90.3.
Oh wow.
7 ounce 80.2.
Okay. I take the 7 ounce victory.
Yeah. Surprisingly, just looking at this right now, and I don't know if you guys have like a quick like one word or not one word. That'd be impressive.
Splendid.
One or two sentence.
My one word is
one or
splendid.
2 sentence answer. Yeah. 1 or 2 sentence answer to why you think this is. But I'm looking at the gaps because to fill it in. So going from heaviest to lowest or heaviest to lightest, 7 ounce 80, 6 ounce 83, 5 ounce 86, 4 ounce 87, 3 ounce 90. Why do you think the gap between 5 ounce and 4 ounce is so small compared to all the other ones are almost like 3 miles?
Splendid.
Remember one
Splendid
word,
is
dude. Yeah.
Splendid is my one word answer. Well, the first thing I'd want to know is was the order? The order wasn't randomized. Is it?
No. Yeah, that's a big confounding factor.
So what was the order then?
It was probably
What was
7,
it?
6, 5, 4.
No, it was a weighted ball mound velo. So like the actual workout that we do in gym, which is 5, 6, 7, 5, 4, 3.
Right. Yeah. So that would be my answer and why the 4 is not that different. Because it's at the very end of the workload.
Yeah.
And typically, like from experience, I'm trying to blow out my first 5 ounce, and I'm also trying to blow out my second 5 ounce. And then so like you're already blown out after that second 5 ounce, so you're just gas going into the 4, and then that probably like is lower, and then the 3 is back up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wait, so that was the order we did?
It was definitely the order we did for Steven, and
I mean, hopefully it's the order we did for everyone.
It was 5, 6, 7, 5, 4, 3.
4, 3.
Yeah.
And the it was approved for like it wasn't like we didn't have to say it in the IRB
Randomized,
like which order. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I feel like most of the weighted ball papers that I've read in the past have like typically been randomized. Like thinking back to the there was like the handball study that looked at like kinematic differences in weighted handballs, and like what they would do is like they weren't allowed to look at it, kind of a thing, you know, like they just picked a random ball out and then they threw it. But they were also mentioning how even if you do that though, you know how much it weighs, especially if you're like a professional handball player. You know the feeling of like a normal weight. Like you can pick up a baseball, and if it's like waterlogged, you can tell right away it's not 5 ounces, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So even then, like I don't know if you could like fully randomize it, but randomizing it from the aspect of like workload would be interesting.
Definitely. It's
I think for most of our study or most of our analyses will be fine because we had, for the most part, the throwers like throw an equal amount of each ball weight, and we're kind of in some sense going to be comparing like in between throws. So everyone will have thrown a 4 ounce in the same spot. Hopefully,
right.
Sounds like. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say one last guess. I just looked up hardest like pitch thrown. What do you guys got?
The hardest 5 ounce or hardest 3 ounce?
You guys can guess both. Okay, hardest 5 ounce and hardest 3 ounce.
I'll let Lindley go first. Oh, that's not fair. I think Lindley knows all the subjects. I don't know all the subjects.
No, but
yeah, I've seen this. I don't remember him too well though.
Yeah, I don't know him.
I don't know who they are either because I'm looking at the anonymized version here, which is the subject 1 through whatever. So good study practices. I don't know what it is, man. Someone threw a guess, but I don't know who it is.
90. Ooh, this was early, man. I don't know if we have much 90 plus. I'm gonna go 90 flat on 5 ounce and 93 on 3 ounce.
I'm gonna take
What's up, Brady?
I'm gonna take the over on both of those.
Oh yeah, healthy over, dude. You think we got a bunch of
I'm going
soft tops?
I'm going like 91 and 97.
92.3, 98.9.
Let's
Wow.
go,
There you go, dude.
Dang.
Let's go.
92.3 and 98.9.
Yeah,
That's really impressive.
Wow.
that's called elite throwers.
Was it the same? I mean, was it the same subject?
We just spend a whole podcast episode
Yeah.
talking about whoever
like
subject is
breaking
like
down.
listening to this. You're like, yeah, that's me, baby.
Breaking down the weighted ball
We'll
mound
just
study.
use Trent. We'll just use Trent to transcribe this podcast, and that'll be the paper.
Ooh, actually, oh, dude, oh, never mind. I was gonna say we got a bunch of 92s, but that's probably I just realized that's probably a couple 5-ounces.
3
I'm
ounces, you mean?
guessing, or yeah. I'm guessing it is the same person. I'm about to find out here in about 5 seconds. But
If it was the same
whoever-
subject.
yeah, it is not the same subject, dude. I was saying because
Ooh,
whoever threw
interesting.
92, dude, whoever threw 92, threw it twice.
Interesting.
It is not the same subject. Whoever threw 98.9.
Very, very, very
That's
interesting.
cool. And then on since I mentioned it before, I don't know, I think it might be cool to talk about. We addressed the multiple comparisons thing
91.
by kind of
Yeah.
So the whole thing about having to adjust your significance level to account for how many comparisons you make for each metric. We kind of broke them into categories and used the ASMI study, weighted ball study, to kind of direct that hypothesis. So we used the metrics that they found were significant in their study, kind of modeled the ones that we're going to test for, by seeing those variables and seeing what they found significant, and then binning them into categories. So kinematic velocity, so how fast your joints are moving or like rotating. Kinematics, so like the position of the joints in segments, and then kinetics, so the torques and forces on the elbow and shoulder, and then ball velocity.
Do you remember
So
what the main ones were? What the main significant differences were?
In our study or ASMI's?
In theirs.
Yo, don't tell me though. I'm trying to go in with no biases.
Well, I figured it'd be.
Oh, you've already read this, dude.
Yeah.
I read it really quickly. Talk about. I'm gonna plug my ears. Yo, tell him, Lindley.
Okay.
I would guess it. I mean, I figured the main one is like MER, external rotation.
No, it's not. It wasn't significant with ball weights, and they also
right,
did,
because it's within. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like across, because you're looking at it compared to like, you're looking at one athlete's 3 ounce compared to their 5 ounce. I was thinking about like the 6-week study.
No. Yeah. So they also did kinematics a little weird. So they did like broke it up by phases, and they found average kinematics over a whole phase. So instead of doing max or at an event, they would average over like a short time period. So that was a little bit different than how we do it. But shoulder horizontal abduction during arm cocking, elbow flexion during arm cocking, shoulder abduction at ball release, and anterior trunk tilt at ball release.
Okay.
And then a lot of the kinetics were different. There are 5 significant differences there. And then trunk and pelvis angular velocities, as well as shoulder internal rotation and elbow extension velocities.
The shoulder internal rotation and elbow extension makes sense.
The
torso
is crazy.
Pelvis doesn't really make sense though.
Yo, I heard everything. It was head size, right? You guys said head size.
Head size is the biggest difference. Yeah, I'm trying to. That's really weird. That See, I wonder if that is like knowing the weight of the ball. You know,
like an intent thing.
Yeah, like it's going to be heavier, so you have to like sequence different kind of thing. That would almost like because
try harder, or try less hard.
Yeah, because the torso and pelvis. Yeah, that's a good point too. Actually, like if I have a 3 ounce in my hand, I'm probably gonna like rotate my torso way harder than like if I have a 5 ounce and I can feel it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah,
and we actually just had OC Michael O'Connell comment that he approved of our current design.
Good.
That he's on
no
board.
way.
Yeah, and to kind of quickly give some give a gloss over of why we're avoiding the multiple comparisons issue. Like the way we're breaking it up by categories, it's like things that should be significant in one category shouldn't impact as much, in theory, the ones that'll be significant in the other category. And we're docking the alpha level, like Lindley mentioned. So we'll have a higher onus on something being significant. The way I'm going to go about it is I'm going to run a one-way ANOVA test, which kind of is ran to identify group differences or like mean differences in certain groups. So we have the 3 ounce, 4 ounce, 5 ounce, 6 ounce, 7 ounce. So it'll mention like whether that ball weight was something that impacted the mean in a certain metric. And then once that gets run, planning on running something called the turkey test, which will kind of compare. First off, fire name, dude. Turkey. I think it's called like the turkey. I swear to God, dude.
No, I feel like it's definitely.
Tukey. Isn't it Tukey? Isn't it TUK?
Dude, I think I've been dyslexic every time I've read it. Maybe.
No way, it's turkey. There's no way.
Oh yeah, you're totally right, dude. I've just been reading. I swear I've ran that test like 100 times. Every single time I've been reading it as turkey, dude.
Let's go.
I was gonna say turkey test. What? I feel like I specifically remember that like in as like a feature in SPS like, or something like an SPSS.
Dude, it's called like the turkey like on a significant difference or like something really dorky. So I just kept thinking that
the turkey test. People are gonna go back to their stats classes and ask if they should like.
Yeah. Anyway, so
run like the
turkey
adjustment. Jesus. The Tukey test. All right, that's our quantitative analyst right there.
Yeah. Anyway, so when in doubt,
he scored a 2370 on the SAT.
Yeah, missed one question on the SAT. Thinks it's a turkey test.
Turkey, dude.
Poultry test.
Oh man.
Yo, Lindley, for sure thought I was trolling, huh? You thought I was just saying turkey.
I thought you were just like it was just a joke. You always called it the turkey test.
100% serious.
No, dude. I honestly, yeah, I don't know if I ever read it as Tukey. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I ever read it as Tukey or if I read it one time and thought about making a joke as turkey and just kept rolling with it. But I legitimately thought it was turkey until I just looked it up right now to confirm. But it is a super dorky name. It's Tukey's honest significant difference test.
Yeah,
you know.
It sounds like a made up name. So I was like, oh, it's obviously turkey. They just gave it a bullshit name.
And what does the turkey test do?
Just make sure if it's white meat or dark meat, and no. So the idea is the Tukey test factors in a like multiple comparison adjustment because it tests like so we got 3 ounce, 4 ounce, 5 ounce, 6 ounce, 7 ounce. And it'll run the test against each possible paired combination. And obviously, when you run that many tests, you know there could be a higher chance of you just getting a significant like pairing by chance. But yeah, so it'll run like 3 ounce versus 4 ounce, 3 ounce versus 5 ounce, 3 ounce versus 6 ounce, 3 ounce versus 7 ounce, and then the recurring like corresponding set for each other group. So it'll already bake in a multiple comparisons. So I'll run that for anything that does get triggered as significant on the one-way ANOVA.
Yep.
I'll run a Tukey test. So that way we'll avoid multiple comparisons and we'll stay off that steak.
Good. That's fire.
You should just keep calling it the turkey test.
Dude, I'm kind of pissed you told me now.
You would have wrote it
because Brady.
You would have wrote it up in the results.
With it. Yeah, Brady was rolling with it, and you just started cracking up in the background.
I just wanted.
You would have wrote it up in the results.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I wouldn't have said something and you just published that in a paper.
Dude, but I swear I've seen it so many times. I probably just have like built-in dyslexia. Like I'll type it normal. I'm like, all right, anyways, the turkey test.
Oh man, that's good. All right.
So all right, weighted ball. That's going into analysis this week, ideally.
Yeah.
Dude, can you title this podcast episode "The Turkey Test"?
The turkey test. Turkey testing weighted balls. So fire. Okay.
Yeah.
As far anything else happened last week? Anything worth working on right now? Any other big updates project wise?
I mean, I was thinking we could plop in. I mean, not this last week, but we've messed around with gauge tracking for a bit, and we can introduce our new sexy segment of
segment. Yes.
In-depth journal recommendations.
Yes.
And keyword being sexy.
Yes.
Second keyword being turkey. But figure
Yes.
yeah, Lindley got something fire prepped.
Yeah. So as
Yeah.
opposed to kind of at the end of the episode, just Caravan dropping 3 articles.
Which was good for my DMs though. My
Yeah.
DMs are getting lit up.
Big for Caravan's DMs. Well, actually, we're gonna try going forward. Just one article or one blog a week. Break it down, and Lindley's been super fired up about this one. He's been talking about it for a while. Super adamant about a gaze tracking study that he wants to bring up to us, and break it down with us. So what?
I want to get to the moon.
What is it?
So in January, a group out of
you gotta. I think you just gotta go like title, authors, all that stuff for the people, so they can follow along.
January, a group in Japan, Kishida et al. Out of the Tokyo Institute of Technology, published eye and head movements of elite baseball players in real batting. So this one kind of caught my attention even more than usual, just because they use the same equipment as us, and it's off live batters. So first, a lot of gaze tracking and perception research has been off pitching machines, or just not in live setting.
Right.
In a live setting, which this more research is being done here, but like that's one of the big reasons we want to start working on it in house, because live batting tendencies from the hitters is likely different against the machine and live. So that was really cool. And they used the same system for eye tracking, motion capture, and then they used a high-speed camera to track the ball location over time. It's really cool. But
I mean, what does the gaze tracking baseball research world even look like? Like, is there a lot out there?
There's not a lot.
Also, in terms of like specifically, like I'm talking like legitimate gaze measurement. Like, because I know there were studies in the past that just looked at like head movement and like maybe like not as quantifiable methods of eye tracking, but like legit, gaze tracking glasses or something like that.
Yeah, I think most of them use gaze tracking glasses. Some of them are only tracking one of the eyes. Some track both. But I think a big part of a big limitation for a lot of them is just that they're not in the live setting and they're off a machine. Like, and a lot of them aren't even off like any like realistic machine. It'll be a machine that has a 4-foot PVC tube coming off of it that it shoots a ball out of, which obviously has no similarities with an actual pitching motion. Yeah, but there's a lot of studies that do really good job of combining head movement and eye movement to get like overall gaze, and they can like calculating it so it's in degrees instead of some other normalized unit. So they can really give a good context and like a good description of the actual eye and head position.
Yeah, where are they actually looking? Everything else is going on too.
Yeah. So the big things from this study, they tested 3 big league hitters and 3 farm league hitters in the NPB in Japan, and they found that's kind of a limitation there. They found some significant differences, but yeah, that's definitely a limitation. But all other things considered, this is just like super fire study. They found that the 3 big leaguers, or the higher level hitters, they initiated a predictive saccade to the point of contact later. So basically they kept their head or their gaze position on the ball. They were tracking the ball for longer before they moved their eyes and where they were looking to where they thought the ball contact was going to be. That was a really big one.
They did that. They did that earlier or later?
They did that later. Yeah. So they talk about a couple other things that are kind of related.
Was it I'm just gonna keep asking questions. Was it like the same pitcher?
There was one hitter
like
faced
control for that?
One pitcher. Yeah. So everybody faced one pitcher except for one guy faced a second pitcher.
But was that one pitcher the same pitcher? Like, did all like the 6 hitters face the same pitcher? Is what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. They didn't like switch between like collections or anything. As far as I know, it was one session.
Okay.
Yeah, so they initiated that SCOD later, which maybe means that they can make that switch better. Like it takes less time for them to focus on ball contact, or
Yeah.
maybe it's they've learned to take in more ball flight information, so keeping their eyes on the ball, so they can predict where that point of contact is going to be
Interesting.
better.
Yeah. They can get more like information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they also found that the unknown fastball condition. So they did a couple of different conditions when the hitter knew that a fastball was coming and when they didn't.
Mhm.
And when the hitters didn't know that the fastball was coming, they initiated that saccade earlier, which is a little bit counterintuitive to me, but that's very interesting as well.
And this was across all the hitters?
Yeah, this is between subjects.
Oh.
Or no, yeah, that would be a within subject comparison. Yeah.
So, regardless of level, when they knew the fastball was coming. Okay.
When they knew it was coming, they moved their gaze later.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like
Damn, we
the
should hit
sample
that
size.
during
I feel like-
trash can gate.
I feel like that's like super counterintuitive.
Yeah, very counterintuitive. They also have a little caveat in here that that it's like they know that it's significantly different, and the mean there was a significant difference, but like they were very careful with their interpretation. The third big conclusion that was cool, they found the head position and the head and eye position combined were correlated with barrel position, but not as much only eye position. So eye position alone relative to the head. So like regardless of where the head is, eye movement or like eye angle wasn't as correlated with barrel position at contact as head position was. So that would kind of lead us to say that the better hitters or the hitters tracked more with their head, right?
Right. So
And
okay.
And that
Yeah.
correlation was found in the big league hitters.
Yeah.
Did it control for how sexy the pitcher was though?
Good
That's
question.
a really good point, dude.
Good
That's
question.
probably super distracting.
Good question. So I feel like that would kind of like argue against the idea that like you know, hitters having less head movement is a good thing, kind of a thing, I guess. Like if
Yeah.
there is more or head what exactly does head movement correlated with barrel position? Does that just
It
mean
means that like
my
the
head goes
position-
down if the barrel goes down, my head goes up if the barrel goes up?
No, so like the angle of where they're looking. So the head position, the head rotational angle. So like
Okay.
90 degrees would be if they're looking directly left. 0 would be if I'm looking straight forward.
Okay.
So that angle was correlated with the position of the barrel at ball contact. I think it may have been the vertical angle as well. I'll have to look at that. But,
Okay.
and they didn't find that same relationship with the eyes. And then, but when you add the eyes and the head, that also had a strong correlation as well. So like
Okay,
where
yeah.
you're,
I was thinking more in terms of like head movement, in terms of like up, down, left, right, lateral tilting, but I guess it's more just like rotational, right?
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
seeing the ball, tracking it into contact, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then
that makes sense.
that also like kind of makes sense as far as vision and perception research, because we know that when research has found that when you make a predictive or when you make a saccadic movement with your eyes, you're missing background information like visual information during that saccade and very shortly after it. So that would tell us, or
Okay.
like using that, we would think that a lot of eye movement is not good, because if you lose information while your eyes are moving quickly, then let's try not to move our eyes very quickly.
So like,
And then we can
yeah.
incorporate more head movement, which kind of like we can kind of see that go along with these findings from this.
Oh, and they
study.
used Bonferroni corrections too for their
Yeah.
t-shirts I'm looking at.
Did they use any
Yeah,
turkeys?
No turkeys were harmed in the making of this paper.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So beyond those like three conclusions, what was their kind of like action, like do they have like a statement as like how this could be used or something, like the value of it beyond those three conclusions? Like, did they make like a training claim, like a scouting claim, anything like that?
No, they talked a lot about some possible confounding factors, but really their overall like conclusion was just that this was one of the first studies to do of its kind, whatever, and just generally like these insights are going to be able to help train hitters better in the future, which is like, yeah, that's definitely true. But I actually had a conversation with Dudo on Twitter a couple of days ago about how like once we actually find out all this information about vision and perception and hitting, it's like the whole training thing is just a whole nother battle that we're going to have to overcome,
Yeah.
because a lot of
Give
this
people a
stuff,
change.
especially with what we know about action and perception and how they're coupled, how it's a pretty like subconscious thing that hitters do, making a swing decision, like that probably takes a very long time to change, right? Because it's a like it seems like it's a probably pretty embedded model, and so like they've spent 20 years figuring out how to predict where the pitch is going to be, or however long these guys have been playing baseball. So it's going to take some.
And in the meantime, when you're trying to figure out how to train it, at the same time, the other side is going to be figuring out like how to exploit it. So
yeah,
like that's the.
And then
I honestly think that will come quicker than training it.
Yeah,
and that's something that Matt Daniels and I will talk about related to game theory.
Yeah, yeah, because that'll be interesting.
In addition, hitters, especially where they're at Driveline, if we're training perception, but they're also training mechanics and bat speed and all these things, it's going to be really hard to see what is the actual cause of any performance changes.
Yeah.
If they're making changes in all these big areas of like big aspects of hitting.
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to know that if we are doing this perception training that it's the cause of whatever change we're seeing?
Right. And well, also like, because this is, one of like my hanging fears on the pitching side, on like biomech is like, what if you have like a change or an improvement in one area that like messes up the other area, like could a mechanical change to your swing fuck up the way that you like go about perception or recognition or something? Like on the pitching side, the easiest example is like pitch design and biomechanics, like we don't want to take away the way you go about throwing the pitch while also trying to change the way that you throw a certain pitch, right? Like maybe your excessive lateral trunk tilt is a huge reason why you throw like a banger of a cutter, and fixing that, now we just lost the cutter kind of a thing, or things along those lines. So that's like, I don't know if you think that's something that's like possible on the hitting side.
I think so.
If you don't have like an integrative, approach or like assessment, that's something where you could just be like plugging one hole, creating like four more kind of a thing.
I wouldn't be too worried about it, at least at first thought, just because like if we're training to improve bat speed and improve efficiency of mechanics and how fast and how powerful a guy can get to the ball, from the hitter standpoint, that should just make perception, or that should help perception, right? So if they can react better and quicker or whatever, then that should help or give them a better opportunity to make adjustments or whatever. And that's also something that is in the hitting program already. So
I guess like with that, the main differences between the better hitters and the worse hitters, and that like kind of like seeing the pitch, gathering more information, I guess like reacting later. What would be your like initial input / idea behind training that or like developing that?
I haven't put too much thought into training that like ball tracking and that part of it. I think it's just really hard to do deliberately because like after all, it's only 300 to 400 milliseconds from ball release to ball contact, I think, for like most pitches. So
Yeah.
like being able to actually know what you're doing and like getting reps in there is going to be tough. But that is also like, even with these findings though, like a lot of what they found, it could have been attributed to how well the better hitters like use the pitcher's mechanics to predict what's coming, or
Yeah.
or like maybe them like if they're head movement dominant instead of eye movement dominant,
Yeah.
maybe that just allows them to be like keep their eyes on the ball longer. So
Was
not
there
exactly
was there
sure where
anything in
we
there that like what you were looking into initially with gaze tracking that like they also did, or that like you would have liked to have seen? I guess in terms of like, and I don't know exactly all this stuff that you guys were doing, but I feel like there was a lot more in terms of like where the hitter is looking prior to release, kind of a thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's
Yeah.
a lot more that
Was there
there's a
anything in
lot
there
more
with
that
that?
I want to. No, there wasn't any like pre-pitch stuff that they really reported on.
But they were looking at that. They just didn't find anything significant or like reported on it.
No, as far as I know, they didn't like measure it or categorize it or anything.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but that's one of my just like running theories that the it's like some sort of decision tree. Like there's an initial decision to swing or not to swing before the ball is released, and then that initial like ball flight period is just used to either confirm that, try to hold up the swing, and then adjustability.
I guess that does kind of make sense that the the better hitters are able to like kind of make that decision later, kind of a thing. Pretty tough though, with just like 3 on each side. Like
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
pretty tough. What was
yeah, and that
were
shows
they all
you
the
the
same?
state of the research.
Sorry,
Too.
go ahead.
That shows you the state of the research too. It's like that is I would assume, I mean, this is seems like the gold standard to me as far as like live
Yeah.
like validity in a gaze tracking study, even though it only has 6 subjects. So
Yeah, it'd be pretty tough to like base your whole claim or belief off of just like 6 people. But was there anything with like, were they all the same handedness
oof,
or anything like that? I'm wondering if there was anything like, right on right, left on right kind of thing, maybe. I
2
don't know.
right-handed batters, and all the others were left-handed. So and the only 2 right-handed batters were the farm lower level hitters. So that's another like possible thing.
So all 3 of the really good hitters were left-handed?
Yeah, and one of the farm hitters.
Interesting. Wow, they had a better representation of lefties than righties? The heck?
Yeah, that's crazy. I was expecting the opposite.
Yeah, I mean that's like.
Is there anything about the
fire.
age too? Or I'm looking at it now. Okay, yeah, never mind. It's kind of on the same level. I was looking at the farm guys versus the top guys.
Yeah, a couple years.
The top guys are only 2 years older. Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had another question too with the conditions. So you said they had like one where it was like fastball and they knew about it. But what were the like other conditions? Was it just like all pitches were mixed in and they made decisions, or the
known condition, the pitch type was told to the pitcher or to the hitter in advance, and then the unknown pitch condition, they weren't. So I think those were yeah, so there was only fastballs in the known condition, and then fastball, and then a curveball in the unknown condition as well. So if they knew what pitch was coming, it was a fastball. If they didn't know, it's possible it could have been a fastball or a curveball.
Was there any difference like between pitches, like when it was a curveball, when it was a fastball?
No, they only reported on the difference between known and unknown fastball.
Oh, okay, just like as a whole, there wasn't any. I guess like between pitch or like by pitch type characteristics, like differences.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It'd be hard to make super like good comparisons between an unknown curveball and a known fastball, since you
Yeah.
don't really have a control there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And you said they did head movement with OptiTrack?
Off the track, yeah. They had a helmet that was like, which there could definitely be some error there, as well as the gauge tracking system. We've had trouble with it. So that's another thing that impressed me so much with this study is that the data looks very like, at least the way they presented it looks very good. They basically like taped or had a helmet strapped on with the chin strap, and then they had a bunch of markers just on the helmet.
Nice. How many?
And then
What was like how many like pitches and stuff did they actually see? Like, what was the sample size like? You know, captures per player, I guess. Was it just like a handful, or do you know if it was like multiple at bats?
it was repeated until there were 11 bat ball contacts. So
Oh wow.
it was
Okay.
variable. Yeah.
Was
yeah,
there?
and that's another thing is they were swinging. So like a lot of the studies were either not in a live situation, or they were in a live situation, but it wasn't actually live because they weren't swinging.
Oh, okay.
But like this one, they did their data analysis on like actual swings and contacts.
Did it link like number of swings then with many of the like gauge tracking data, like to see if like lower amount of swing, or like, you know, it took them less swings to get 11 batted balls if you did this?
I didn't see that.
I'd actually just be interested in the like, I guess the performance metrics of the batted balls. Like, I know that they were categorized by like higher level and lower level, but still like in that scenario,
the thing is that that's so tough though. It's so tough to have enough batted balls to make a conclusion off that.
Right.
It probably is much better for them to just lump them in off talent level initially.
Talent level initially.
And then just
understanding those strategies.
You know what? Looking at this, dude, I think there's still space on the moon for us. I think there's still space on the moon for us.
Yeah.
100%. Gotta hop on.
Yeah, that's kind of it is like really fire start, especially like it's a very well run. I mean, what would you change about it, I guess, or go differently?
I mean, the easy one would be getting more people. Like,
larger sample size.
A larger sample size. I would also be interested to see maybe another like level of competition. Maybe they did farm and big league batters. Those are pretty, in the grand scheme of things,
both
are
elite.
pretty close to the same scale. Yeah. So if we were to see, which is like one of the things that they talked about, how it's novel that they found significant differences between groups that were so similar, because usually they do like elite population and then basically like non-athletes or not or like not above high school, whatever. So
mixing like some high school and college kids. See if that difference like keeps presenting itself, kind of a thing. I wonder if you'd want to in that vein, would you want to like control the pitcher level relative to the hitter level?
Yeah, probably. I would assume.
What do you mean? Rather than keep it standard?
Like have the high school hitters face the high school pitcher, college hit the college, you know? Because I mean, if you throw a high school hitter up against like Bauer, I mean, it's just like not gonna.
Yeah,
that's not gonna be the normal hitting strategy, you know.
But I'm saying maybe like a median, because then you have to control for pitcher talent. I'd rather have like less things to control for when you already have so many to begin with. I'd rather have like one or two pitchers.
I feel like you'd want to, you'd want to do just like, exactly that. Find like a middle of the road pitcher.
That's another good point. I think it would be cool to control the, like do more, like change the pitching more. So like do these, if we did the same batters, instead of having two groups of batters, we did one group of batters and see how they are affected by different pitchers.
Oh yeah.
So like if does the same like delay and predictive saccade happen? Is it different? Does the timing of that saccade scale with pitch velocity or type of pitcher or or like a pitcher that they're familiar with versus not familiar with, something like that.
Oh yeah, and I would definitely like the first thing I would want to see is like preparation and like priming in a sense, if anything, like if that is possible. Like if you show someone or give them like videos of the pitcher that they're about to face, if that like helps set them up to kind of like know what's coming, as opposed to just like, you know, seeing it. Because I don't know, I'm like not entirely sure or necessarily sold on the idea that like you can watch a pitcher's arsenal and be more prepared, kind of a thing. And I feel like that's
pitching. What about pitching machine mimicking like the spin and speed of his pitches? Or would you be more like would you lump them the same category?
I would say
or
there's
that
probably
as a different timing?
more value in that. Oh wow, yeah, I don't know. I would
So
guess
you could try doing both. You could try.
Yeah, I guess I would immediately think that being live in the setting with a pitch machine, replicating the like movement and slot and everything would be more valuable than just like studying video of the pitcher pitching. Because it's going to be hard to recreate like an ideal camera angle, I would think, for it to be like really valuable for the hitter to gain a lot from like a 2D image of that person throwing.
This is also another conversation that like might need to be had about pitching machines and like prep and training,
Yeah.
because we like a couple of years ago the shift happened where a lot of or started to happen where a lot of BPs, high velocity machines, right, and recreating ball flight. But I'm starting to think more and more that a lot, like most of the information that hitters use, like a majority of it is from the pitcher's kinematics
Comes from the
and
body.
how they're moving.
Yeah.
So like if we're taking that completely out of the picture with pitching machines, is there something where we can mix both in to try to get a better result?
Yeah.
Or are there like different ways we can configure pitching machines, or
Right.
something to help get the pitcher delivery aspect in it, but also recreate a game like ball flight?
Yeah, I think it's almost like they bring like two different kinds of value. Like the pitching machine
Definitely.
is mostly just like reaction, and it's really really hard kind of a thing. And then the like live pitcher and seeing the way they move is more of like the decision making side of things and like the recognition side, whereas yeah, that like high speed machine is just like reaction and like skill in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
Japan just has it figured out in general in terms of like how they do it when they pay so much money for all of these like dudes to just blow cheese by guys in BP. I mean, it's like so smart. It's also just like it'd be such a sick job to have, and there's so many like JUCO and indie ball guys that would just jump on that. I feel like more and more teams would be able to find arms that are willing to do that.
Do you know how much they get paid?
They get paid well. Yeah, from like when we were in Fukuoka, like those guys make they make good money. I mean, they make more than a living, and they like get a. Obviously, I think like the perks outweigh any kind of like low salary that they get, you know, because like they travel with the team. They're more or less considered like a part of the team. They're not like an actual player, but like it's also a tough life though, because like they have to be in such good shape. Like those dudes are throwing like hundreds and hundreds of high intense like throws every day. It's crazy. Crazy.
Dude, speaking of good shape, dude, do you guys see how veiny my arm's looking right now? You guys seeing this, dude? What's up with this, dude? Dude, I think the garage gym is a drug, bro. Your boy's been working out a little bit too much.
Yeah, quarantine's got you just fucking jacked right now. Good.
Oh yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I got for that paper. We can link it in the tweet.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, we'll put it in the description on all the videos too. On the podcast.
Cool.
That was good. Do you Caravan, do you want to take the paper for next week and have something in mind that you want to tease right now?
Yeah, I'm down. I got no teasers on the spot.
No teasers.
I'd rather I got nothing now, but maybe we can tease when we when we tweet out this episode.
Okay. Caravan will have the video next week, but also anyone out there, if you listen to that and you have like a paper or something that you would want us to break down, we're more than welcome to throw that in the mix, include in future podcasts. But as far as for
Also,
this one, unless you guys have anything else, Lindley.
This is fire. No, I mean, all I gotta say is, chicken is not the only poultry. Also eat your turkey.
Yeah. Don't forget your turkey tests.
Yeah. We'll catch you next week.